Hello, and welcome to the Braxcast. So I'm Joker the Fool. I do Velvet Room Publishing. I run that Substack, all that content there. If you know me from there, then welcome back. If you don't, then you don't really need to know that because this is a podcast named after Jeremiah Braxwell covering all things Rippaverse. So this is going to be weekly, every Saturday. I'm going to go through the latest news in the Rippaverse or go through specific comics or whatever. No, some weeks will be more eventful for others in terms of the announcements. Others, I'll be able to just go through various books and just talk about these sorts of things. But we do have some new stuff to talk about. I guess relatively new, and we're going to be talking about Horseman. He was announced a couple weeks ago, but his book isn't out yet. He's a new character. We don't know much about him, so I figured some rampant speculation is in order on who he is and what his motivations are. We'll also go through Alphacore. So there's an Art of Joe Bennet book being released. It's going to feature artwork from Alphacore, 30 pages of the best stuff as a limited edition for the first 2,000 copies, metallic cover. Very nice, and the rest will be mass print. So just to gauge that market of do people want art books. So, and I'll be going through my copy of Alphacore and saying, these are the pages that I would like to be in that book. But without further ado, we're going on with the Horseman. So the Horseman is a character created by Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennet. So this is another collaboration between the two, like with Alphacore, which I enjoyed greatly. So I think this one's going to be an absolute banger as a, so far, one-shot graphic novel. That's what we've got confirmed. For now, of course, this character could be really popular. He could sell a lot of books, and then it becomes a mini-series and an ongoing. Who knows? But for now, we've got this one graphic novel. It's probably going to be about 96 pages, I believe. So that's the length it's going to be. I could be wrong on that. Coming out this summer, where we get introduced to this character, figure out a good bit of it. I'm sure we'll figure more about the Rippaverse as well through his storyline. And I do think he's got a very, I would say, intimidating character design. The horse mask could be, a bit campy depending on how you look at it, but I think it looks nice. I do also like the symbol on his chest, the rook. It looks very nice. He's got, the utility belt, and he's very much dressed up in a military style in terms of like he's, ready to take and do some damage. So it's definitely a character that means business in all the artwork that we have here so far. So this is a nice little, him descending down. I think the negative shape in this is very good. So it's just a well-drawn piece of art, in my opinion. You see the spaces between the negatives and how all the lines just are very solid. They flow where they need to be, and they're defined where they also need to be as well. Background looks nice as well, but it really do not know much. We know he doesn't have any powers. We know he's street level. So it's really just rampant speculation. I do think the biggest piece of speculation I have is that this is a character we've met before, as in he's the ranch hand for Avery Soman, and I believe his name is Sam Wilkins. He appears a bit in Isom 1. He's more important in Isom 2. He gets kidnapped by the Hellions, and Isom and Bloodroof save him at the end of Isom 2. So I do think he could be the Horseman. Especially, I don't see it necessarily here, but I did hear that you can see him having the same cross that Isom does on his suit. So we can look at this. This is the figure of Horseman as he appears on the cover A that we saw. I really, looking at the center, it's not really the same cross there as it is on Isom. But if you see like that similar artwork, or we see that more, then this would nod us off. And he's got different weapons here, so of course Horseman's going to have very much a whole arsenal of weapons. He's got a holster here, so he probably has guns or knives, probably both of these sorts of things. He's got the shin guards here, so he's already all dressed up. He's got that rook guard, so he's got a pretty well defined costume, and it's probably going to be variations of this, I would imagine. So I do think that he's going to be an interesting character, regardless if my theory on that is correct or not. And here's, this is the him on the cover, fully colored. You've got the Horseman logo. Of course, this, in the book form is going to have a blue spine, like how Alphacore'S got green. If you can see, probably better if I hold it like that. See, like green. So that's how it's going to look. Now, the most interesting thing to me in this artwork is that this mock-up has a number 1. This would imply that it's an ongoing series, but Chuck Dixon said it was a one-shot. So that could have just been, something that happened in the mock-up, because you got Alphacore 1, Isom 1, Yaira 1. So this, number 1 is something they just do for a lot of mock-ups. So I would imagine with something like that, it was just a bit of an error. But I still think this looks pretty cool. It gets the message across. It conveys visually what it needs to be. And of course, you see the bullet holes here. So I do think the fact that, you also see, he's got the holster here. If you can see it, would probably indicate that he has guns. There's a gun there. There's a bat there, but it looks like, this is him from having beaten up a gang. You've got blood there. So I do think, he's not going to be a Batman type, in which he's probably not like, I won't kill anybody. I'm sure he'll inflict as much violence as he needs to do to get the job done. But I really am not, I don't have much in terms of definitive evidence of saying that Horseman is, that the Horseman is Sam Wilkins. So I can't say anything to that. And again, the objective reality is that Isom, Air July, envisioned Sam Wilkins and Isom before Chuck and Joe came up with the Horseman. So it's probably not, something that was like all planned together and be the way that it should be. But if you look at, this art, this is from when Sam is abducted, getting saved by Bloodroof, as you can see. This is a well-built man. He works on a ranch. So in terms of having the physicality to pull off a Horseman character, he obviously can. And again, he doesn't have any powers. Now, looking here, he does have, these markings on the back, and with Bloodroof. I think he might have his own arc that plays into it. Now, could have been this, like he intended to have this arc, and that intertwines with him being the Horseman because that was brought to him, and that was just worked into what he had intended for the character. Who knows? But I think it's a good bit of speculation. So I think in terms of the named characters that we know so far, Sam Wilkins is the only person who could possibly be the Horseman. Now, does that mean he is the Horseman? No, but I think this is the one to look out for. He could be someone else entirely. And of course, you see all the people who died here at the hands of the Hellions, but he lives. So of course, this is a very physically competent person, which again leads to the theory that he would be able to pull off being the Horseman. So that's really where I think you would get the benefit of him being the Horseman. That's my best argument I can make for it. Now, of course, let's see if we can go. It's right after this scene here. You see, this is Sam Wilkins again, and this is just him making a delivery or doing a pickup, stuff for the ranch. So, he's there at the ranch all the time. He's facilitating a lot of this business. He's the one who holds down the fort while Isom is going back into Forest Park. So, he's definitely a reliable character. So, again, that leads against saying, like, well, if you can't be in two places at once, you can't be the Horseman and be running, Silman Ranch at the same time. Maybe he can, but I'm skeptical of that being the case. So that's my, for and against for Sam Wilkins being the Horseman. That's really all I've got. Run through all the art there. We don't have that much. We know this is releasing this summer. Of course, I will be reviewing it. Video format like this, which I have not done yet for a single comic book. I went for my graded books, but I will be doing video reviews of comic books, and the written reviews will be the same thing. So you can look at Alphacore 1, Yaira, it will be with Yaira, but Alphacore 1, Isom 1, and 2 have all been reviewed on my Substack, and I will keep doing those reviews for every Rippaverse book, but I'll also have accompanying video reviews, which will be very nice. But next, we're going to go into the final topic of the first Braxcast, and this is Alphacore'S art. So this is the art book that's going to be released by Rippaverse, featuring Joe Bennet's pencils. Is going to be coming out next month. I got my copy in. Hopefully you got your copy in if you were gunning for the metallic cover, because only 2,000 copies, so I think that's going to go relatively fast. Now, of course, this is Joe Bennett's cover, cover A, which I think should be in the book for sure. It's a great piece of art. I mentioned it when I reviewed the graded copy that I have that's signed by Chuck Dixon. So I think this is a great piece of art. And I do think the opening pages, you look here, I mean, this book, this is why I love this book so much, is that it just starts right into the action with this bank robbery situation. And then Brian Solari comes in. You know, you got this great 2-page spread, a nice, fantastic one, which again, I think should appear. And then Brian Solari's first appearance in Alphacore as well. So those first 4 pages, yes, 4 pages of the book should definitely be in this art book that's coming out next month. Now, again, you know, panels like this, while this stuff is good, you know, something like this, the full page stuff, the spreads especially, you know, stuff like this is just fantastic. And of course, you can take, you know, panels from that. It's just so many great pencils in this book, in my opinion. But the 2-page spreads are what really get me. I think we've got, yes, this one right here, Braxwell taking out Galvin. Great one. Is one to really have. There's some pretty, let's see, it's hard to do this on the fly. You know, this is one that I saw looking around. I mean, you've got Valdez, she's posed very nicely. Solari's posed very well, and then it really flows well with this page. So it's just visually very nice. So it's going to be very hard to whittle down the 96-pager into a 30-page book, but I think the 2-page spreads are what you're really going to have. You know, like again, I mentioned the 2-page spreads are just fantastic. So this one with Billy Bob and Solari is one you definitely want to get in there. Yes, this one again with Billy Bob and Solari and that fight. But the ones that I'm talking about happen near the end of the book with so like this one here, I think. Yeah, this one here, again, is a great one. I'm kind of flipping through this pretty quickly. But, yeah, again, I can't do these 2-page spreads justice in terms of just how good they are. And I think they should all appear in the art book. That should be most of them. Just, you know, this is Eagle's Nest, the full drawing of it. Just looks so nice. And it's really what makes this book shine, in my opinion, and gives it that real epic comic book feel. Are these 2-page spreads. And I think the best one, in my opinion, and this is close to it, you know, this one with Braxwell saving the civilians is fantastic, but this one of Wilkins, not the Sam Wilkins, but the this I think he's Officer Wilkins, stopping Eagle's Nest with his you know, ability to control metal. This is probably the best 2-page spread in the book, and this really is definitely the most like high-stake investment that a character has ever done in terms of, you know, being heroic and saving. It comes from the character that wasn't even part of that trio of Alphacore. So I think it's a great book. It really wraps it home. It really makes it poignant. It really gives these characters a motivation to take it to Michael Copper and Lil Renashi, so that it really very much establishes a good ongoing plot as they're working through people and doing all these sorts of, you know, crafty, conniving things to get what they want without having to get their hands dirty now for trying to bring them in. So I think that's going to be a great, you know, arc that can last, you know, the first, you know, 3 to 5 issues or so, depending on how quick Dixon wants to go through it. But I do think, you know, this 2-page spread is one that should be in the book, and it's going to be a criminal thing if this doesn't appear in the art book. You know, seeing the raw pencils, and there is going to be commentary from Fabio Jensen, or Jensen, however you say it, who's going to be inking Horseman. And Horseman's going to be inked by him, and he's also going to be doing commentary on all the pages that are selected. And I hope this 2-page spread, is one that he gives his commentary on. It's a fantastic piece of artwork and a book full of it. So I think that you know, that's really my biggest thing, is that these 2-page spreads are what need to appear. Pages like this, you know, ones that are, you know, more story based, lots of panels and dialogue, aren't really what you need to highlight, but it's more artwork like this in the 2-page spreads. I think this, this is a great piece of artwork. So, you don't necessarily need to do full pages. Like, you don't need to do these 2 panels here, just this artwork here. And there are more examples of that throughout the entirety of the book, where you have, stuff like this, these great drawings, and all the other panels are more just establishing the story and being a place where dialogue can be conveyed to the reader, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, if you're highlighting the art, then it's, stuff like this art is what you want to highlight. All these other things are more, not necessarily throwaway, but they're just not on that caliber of the 2-page spreads and the larger panels in terms of what should be highlighted in the art book. So that's really where I'm going. Again, stuff like this. And then you have these more establishing shots. But this is the stuff that's really fun to look at. I imagine fun to draw. I mean, you've got all the detail here and in the background. And again, I talked about with the Horseman, but you look at the, I'll give you guys a closer look. But you look here, you look at the negative shape here between this man's legs. It really defines the figure and makes it look proportional. And again, between the 2 legs of these figures, his hand and his leg, and his hand and the back of the man, if you can catch my drift and see, then it just makes it feel more real. It gives the reader that sense of depth when they're looking and when they're looking at this. And of course, you have Solari very much, he's flying, he's coming down, and it just helps convey that to the reader by just offering this sense of depth and having it be well defined, not only in terms of the positive shape, the figure of the man, but the shapes in between. That all informs the reader visually of what's going on, which is very much important in a visual medium. So that's what I really am getting at. And then, it's more panels like these, ones that have a lot of dialogue, convey story. One of the things I mentioned in my review of Alphacore, and I'll mention it again, it's like, Lillian's face could look a little bit better, and so Michael Copper. We only have that like 2, 3, I think it's like 2 or 3 pages in Isom 1, where that's their only other appearance. And of course, we have Marcos Rios's art of them in the concept art book as well, but not a lot of people have seen that. So we don't have them very well defined in terms of what they look like. It's not like Spider-Man or Superman or a character like Rogue or someone who's been in like hundreds of comics. Only a couple pages of artwork existing for them, but I think they could look a bit more faithful to that. But they don't look not like it. So it's still done very well, in my opinion, and I'm not going to be like, oh, it's awful, it detracts from my reading experience so much. It's just, it could be a little bit better. I think Lillian could have a bit more of a youthful appearance in terms of like less wrinkles and all those sorts of things, or it could just be the way the lighting is done, with the coloring and all those sorts of things, rather than like Joe Bennet intentionally trying to make her look like she's wrinkled, which she isn't really that wrinkled. There's just these lines here that might come off of it like that. So I don't think it's explicitly awful, but I think it could be like a little bit more to what I think of what she looks like in Isom 1. It just didn't like snap out to me the way it was like, oh, this is Lillian from Isom 1. And as much as I would have liked it too, but chalk that up to Cliff Richards and Joe Bennet and the inkers being different artists, which makes sense. But again, I'm probably repeating myself here. But you see art like this, these panels that take up most of the page. Like this one here. It's great stuff to put in the art book and just take this stuff out, because this is the pencil work that really speaks to me as a reader, as stuff that like you would want to look through and want highlighted in an art book. And I think all the 2-page spreads are ones that need to appear as well. And stuff like this is more establishing it. It's very noisy because you got Galvin's electricity all over the place. And it's not that it, doesn't do its job or convey what it needs to the reader. It just doesn't look nearly as good as, even stuff like this, because you got Braxwell's figure taking up most of the page there, and giving a really like visceral, like he's doing that visceral kick. And this was adapted pretty well in the Alphacore 1 trailer as well. And then, of course, more artwork like this is what I'm talking about in terms of these big panels on pages that should be highlighted. And then, stuff like this is stuff that, I wouldn't want to see this. Like this, space could, this whole entire space, you could do like this. And then you could do, well, not necessarily maybe artwork like that, but like, maybe even stuff like that. Just in terms of the space of being able to put like these two on one page and then omit all that other stuff, and you make more room in those 30 pages, because you're going to have to whittle down this entire 96-page book into the best 30 pages of art, and they all don't appear on one page. It's not like one page after another, because you got the 2-page spreads and, like I said, some bigger panels in this, but it's still a great book, great reading experience in general. So I would highly recommend you going to Rippaverse.com, picking this one up, checking out my review, so that way you know what you're getting into when you buy it. But I think it's a great book regardless. I love this Alphacore logo. Getting the Braxcore logo modeled after this, because naming it after Jeremiah Braxwell. But that's my take on the art that I would like to see in Alphacore, and or the Art of Joe Bennet. That's what my take on how it should be handled and how it should be appeared. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. My rampant speculation on the Horseman, my theory on him being, I believe Sam Wilkins is the name of the character that I was referring to, and then you've got an Officer Wilkins as well. But I know Sam is the lead ranch hand's first name of Silman Ranch. So that I know that for sure, and I think he could be the Horseman. He also could not be. I guess we'll just have to wait until this summer to find out. And hopefully you enjoyed this one, and you can tune in every Saturday, including next Saturday, to the Braxcast, and get plugged in on all things Rippaverse. Joker is out.